Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the Average AF Podcast with your hosts, Adam McElroy and Stephen Hardy.
Hey guys, welcome to the Average AF Podcast. This is episode 11. Obviously here with Steve as always.
Hey guys, back at it after a short break.
Yep, a little break there just because I was in North Carolina for a business trip. Sounds super official.
Yeah,
but
doing boss shit. I see you.
We'll get into that a little later. But I did want to remind everybody, make sure to follow us everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Music, or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, all those platforms that I'd never heard of, like Radio Republic and all that stuff.
I'm not even gonna lie, my game is weak on all that. I don't even know.
Yeah, I didn't know half
all
of
the
it,
avenues that you could possibly listen to.
I looked up like the list of the most popular, and I was like, let's put it on there.
Yeah,
so we're a lot of different places now, but make sure to subscribe and follow us and support us however you can. But speaking of support, we did just get back from the community event held by Alpha and Omega here in Mansfield. Had a pretty good turnout, so thank you to everybody that showed up.
Yes.
Had some shout-outs that people recorded as well. Those are going to be played at the end of the podcast here, but yeah, it was really cool to see everybody. Saw a couple people that I hadn't seen in at least a couple months, if not more. So it was really cool to see people, and they came out just purely to show support to us. So shout out to them.
Yes, all of them. Seeing your mom probably the first time in a long time, man.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, good seeing her as always, and meeting some people from your family. Your brother, which I met once, he didn't remember, but I did. I knew he was. I remember he was in the army, so cool. Yeah, just good catching up with everybody and meeting the new people that I haven't met yet. Yeah,
it was cool. Definitely meeting new people and passing out stickers and kind of getting our name out a little more. We set up our booth right next to the road on purpose, just to kind of hopefully get some more people looking over our way. So, but yeah, it was definitely fun. I did also just get back from North Carolina, like we mentioned, for the business trip, and that was just different, man. I've never went on like a company trip like that.
It sounds like something that I don't know anybody who does that regularly, right? Or even if it does happen, it's something like, oh, we're just going a few cities over, right? Nothing that you have to travel, across states for. Right. So I'm sure that's an experience in and of itself.
Yeah, it was definitely different because we went to Strongsville probably about a month ago through work. But Strongsville, for those of you who don't know, is kind of close to Cleveland. And where we're at, we're kind of in the middle of Dublin and Cleveland. And I work in Dublin, but I drive there every day. It's about an hour drive south. Strongsville is about an hour's drive north. Mm-hmm. So instead of me going with everybody and staying in a hotel, because for them it was like, a 2.5 hour drive from where everybody else stays. So they stayed in a hotel up there. But for me, it's about the same drive either way. So I just went back and forth to Strongsville every day for a week rather than to Dublin. That was kind of technically a business trip, but I didn't get to, stay in the hotel and do all that kind of stuff, but they offered it to me, but I just, would rather make the drive every day and sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one we went to Greensboro, North Carolina, small town right outside of it. Actually, it was called Jamestown, but we stayed in Greensboro. But yeah, man, I mean, they got us a super nice like Hilton hotel, super nice rental car. There was 3 of us that went, and we flew. It kind of didn't make sense, honestly, but they flew us from Columbus to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta back up to North Carolina. So it kind of like backtracked. Yeah, and it didn't make sense to me at first, but somebody was explaining, because we flew Delta, somebody explained that in Atlanta is like the Delta hub. So pretty much no matter what, they fly you to Atlanta, and then you kind of depart
from there
to wherever you need to go. So it made sense in that aspect, but it was weird, man, because like it would have been an hour and a half flight from Columbus to North Carolina, but it was, or probably even less than that, because it was about an hour and a half flight to Atlanta, and then an hour flight to North Carolina. So it was like 2.5 hours of flying, and then we had a layover, and obviously you have to get there early and kind of stuff like that. So it turned into like a 7.5 hour day, when the flight really only could have been an hour and a half.
Yeah, man. How do you feel about layovers? I don't know. It seems like something I've never flown before.
Yeah.
Which I need to get on the fucking...
I didn't mind it, but we kind of benefited because like our first flight was delayed by like a half hour, which isn't too bad.
No, not at all.
And then we get there, and now our layover is about an hour and a half. So it's not terrible.
Yeah.
We kind of find the gate that we're going to and settle in and stuff. And then I actually found a little kind of sports bar in the Atlanta airport.
Okay.
And, you know, the company's paying for all this stuff. So I ended up having like a sit-down meal in the airport and stuff. And by the time I was done with that, you know, another half hour, sat there, downloaded some stuff for the flight, some podcasts and stuff.
Running into any cool people, new people you met, just, you know, passing by through the airport?
There was, no, I didn't really I was kind of scoping out to see if I saw any like celebrities or anything.
Yeah, that's a poppin' airport. Yeah. I'm sure people come through there all the time.
No, I didn't really notice anybody. There was one person on the flight from, I think it was that flight from Atlanta to North Carolina, the one that we were about to get on.
Yeah.
And they were pretty cool. We just sat next to each other and just talked about a little bit of everything, which, you know me, I'm not much of a talker to people that I don't know. Yeah. I just put headphones in and whatever. But she ended up asking me a question, and she didn't realize that I had headphones in. So I was like, oh, what'd you say? And it just we just started talking, and it made the flight so much quicker. But she was on a business trip, you know. I was on a business trip, and it was the first one that she had done for her company, and same here. And it was just kind of a cool thing. But she was from Jacksonville, Florida. You know, just talked about how much I hate Florida and stuff. I told her that. But yeah, it was cool. It was a cool trip. Didn't see anybody famous or anything like that in the airport, but it's just a whole different dynamic being on a business trip, because like we could get like room service, and they had it's kind of a restaurant type thing downstairs where you can sit down and order food. It's not like a restaurant, but it's an eating area type thing. And everything's charged to the company, which is just weird to me. You know, I'm not used to that. You know, so we ate for the week, and when we were at work down there, they catered to us and like took us out to lunch every day, and all this stuff. Like met the account managers that I'm going to be working with, and they took me out to lunch. So it was like a one-on-one thing, and it was just weird, man. Like, it was cool, but I don't know. The room service ended up being like, the first night I got a steak sandwich, right? And some fries and a drink. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And they give me the bill, and it was like $35. And then you got to tip them, right? Which is absolutely, you definitely want to do that. Yeah. You know, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, especially when I'm going to be here for a week.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it was like, ended up being like $35, $40. And I'm like, this is nuts, man. And we all did that for the first couple nights. And then after that, we were like, you know, we kind of feel bad just because it's so expensive. And then they had like breakfast. The breakfast was like $10 or $15. I don't remember, but it was a buffet. And then you can order like omelets or French toast or kind of other things like that too. You know, and then they didn't have vending machines in the hotel, but they had a little shop with all the drinks and snacks and stuff.
Gotcha.
And you could charge it to the room. So all the pop and water and whatever we were getting, charge to the room. Charge it to the room. Room 331. Charge it. Charge it. Charge it. You know? And it just like, the first night it was cool. And I was like, this is awesome. And then the second night I'm like, should I keep charging it? You know? Like,
and you know it's fine, but why is that? Why do we feel...
I don't know. But like, yeah, because like, and we were talking a little before we started recording here on Friday when we were leaving, the manager down there at, you know, at the site that we were working at was like, you know, how's your stay been? Has it been good? How's the room service? All this stuff. And, you know, we were like, it's great. You know, had a lot of fun and everybody's super nice.
You said at the Hilton, right?
Yeah.
Which is, that's a pretty...
Yeah, but like everybody in town's really nice because it's North Carolina, so it's kind of southern.
Yeah.
Kind of a southern feel to it. And some people got accents and stuff. And it's just, you know, a whole different kind of world, but I liked it. I liked it there a lot. But yeah, she's like, you know, how was everything? And it was great and all this stuff. And we told her, we were like, you know, we did room service for the first couple nights, but after that we kind of stopped and we went out because like $40 for a steak sandwich is a little much, you know.
Damn,
and she just kind of like waved it off. She was like, oh yeah, that's about normal. That's cool. And we were like, what? She's like, yeah, no, that's fine. And we're like, what? Huh? What? Because that's what they told us to do. You know, they said get room service. You know, if you get anything outside of the hotel or whatever, just come back to Dublin and give me the receipts and we'll expense it all and all that kind of stuff. So, like,
wow.
They had Red Bull at the shop in the hotel. I was charging a couple Red Bulls to my room, right? And then, like, well, the first night I charged 2 pops. I got a Coke and, like, a root beer, right? And the dude's like, you know, he's like, do you want to charge it to the room? And I said, yeah, you know. And he's like, okay, well, just so you know, it's $5.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, okay, you know. And he was just letting me know. He wasn't, you know, saying anything. But he's like, yeah, it'll just be a $5 charge on there. If you think about it, a vending machine, it's like $3, you know, for 2 of them. So it's not anything crazy. But I can imagine how much those Red Bulls cost.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
You know? So after that, I just went to the gas station and bought my own Red Bull, you know, and not charged it just because I feel weird.
Yeah, I completely understand that. But I'm sitting here as you're talking, trying to figure out why. When they told us it's all right.
Yeah.
When they told us, you know, hey, don't worry about it. Go, you know, make this, you know, fun.
Right.
You know, enjoy yourself. But yeah, I think it's part of it. We feel like we have a responsibility to be responsible,
right,
with other people's money. You know, if it was your own money, it'd be like, you know, either I want to or I don't. But when it's somebody else's money, whether they tell you to or not, you're always going to have that. Well, should I?
Well, that was the thing too. We were talking about it as the group, and we were like, you know, same thing. Like, I feel bad charging all this stuff, and I kind of wish they would have given us a budget. Like, hey, try to stay under like $40 a day, or something like that. Dope, you know, I can do that.
And that's very doable in a day.
Yes. Oh yeah, easy. I can make that work. But no, they said charge it.
Wow.
Get room service. Charge it to the room. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, I'd have felt like Home Alone, dude.
Right. It was weird. But then, so I did the math because like they sent us like the receipt for our airplane tickets and stuff. So obviously we can board and all that. And then when I checked out of the hotel, they printed me a receipt, even though it was being charged, which I don't know if they're supposed to do, but I saw how much they paid for that.
Yeah.
And then when I was returning the rental car, they told me how much that was for the week, even though it's being charged. I don't know if it's just something that they do, but they told me that. So I knew kind of a rough estimate of, well, I knew how much the hotel was, knew how much the rental car was, and I knew how much the plane tickets were, right? Now you got to multiply that by 3, other than the rental car, but because there was 3 of us. And with that and the room service, and like I said, we had to check some bags that will get expensed once we get back to Dublin and stuff, and some of the meals that we ate out and stuff, but this trip had to be $4,000 to $5,000 for 3 of us to go there for a week. And it wasn't even like like, we're pretty much fully trained in our positions for the most part. We just needed to kind of figure out who to reach out to for certain things, or if there's a special way that they want us to do certain things or whatever. And in reality, we could have done this all over Skype. We could have. We could have. It wouldn't have been as convenient, and we wouldn't have been able to build the relationships, you know. Well, let me kind of almost start over. The reason we went is because my team in Dublin consists of 12 people, and all of us have our own regions that we're going to be supporting. So me and the other two ladies that I went with, our region is North Carolina.
All right.
So we went to the North Carolina office to see our quote-unquote colleagues on our other team.
Okay.
And the manager there and our supervisors there. Because we have a supervisor in Dublin, but she's not necessarily who we report to. She's just kind of like the on-site type supervisor. She's got her own stuff going on. She's got her own team and all this stuff. And she's just kind of the overseer if we need something on site or if we need like a day off or whatever.
Gotcha.
But our actual supervisors who like we work with and for are in North Carolina. So that's why we went. We went there to meet them and build the relationships and figure out you know, how they want to do stuff and kind of things like that.
I've never heard of a business structure like that where you're, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to try to explain it like relatively quickly without getting too much into the details. Essentially, there's two companies, right? Okay. There's an old company and I'm just trying not to say the names of the companies.
Yeah.
So one company was bought out by another, okay? Or they merged. Okay. There was a merger. And the company in Dublin has the new software and the new stuff that the other company wanted. The other company was bigger. Right. So they bought them to get their software and stuff. There's the same type of company, though. Essentially, what my team is for is to work on the old company's old software while they start phasing that out and moving everybody to the new software.
Gotcha.
So we had to learn the old stuff that's literally from like the 80s, you know, and kind of work through that while they phase that out into the new software. Okay. So that's what we do. So on site, they're already using the new software.
Gotcha.
But we're using the old software.
Right.
So that's why now we're based out of quote unquote North Carolina, kind of, because that's what they're using. They're using the old software still. So like the manager on site knows it's called SAP. She knows SAP. That's the new software. Okay. And that's what they all use. Right. I use UVX, which is the old software, which is what they use in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
So that's why, you know, and as they're phasing that out, people are kind of losing their jobs, honestly. They're closing sites down and stuff. So people are quitting or getting new jobs or whatever. Yeah. But the customers are still there. So to support the customers, now 3 of us had to, you know, take a role from North Carolina to support their customers still. Right, okay. And then there's a couple of them that report like to Strongsville. A couple of them report to the Chicago area. And then a couple, let me try to think. A couple of them report to Atlanta. And then I think a couple of them are going to report to Phoenix. So all over the country. Yeah. And this week we all traveled. Pretty much everybody was out of the office except a couple of them. Or a couple of us, but we had people in Chicago. We had people actually in, I don't know if they're in Toledo or Detroit, but it's basically the same customer base anyway. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't remember. I think their office is in Toledo. But yeah, so we're all traveling, meeting our bosses, and then we're going to work remotely from the Dublin office. Gotcha. All right. So it's a weird structure, but yeah, I mean, like all this stuff could have been through email or Skype. Is kind of my point. But they had to spend at least $5,000 on all of us, or all 3 of us, to get there, plus everybody else on the team. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, I'm just still kind of like blown away. And then like we were down there, and she's talking about like, you know, we would love to have you guys back in a couple weeks. Oh. and it's not necessarily that we need to be back.
Yeah.
Because I think we have a pretty good handle on it. But she's like, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't let you guys come back.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, I mean,
all right.
Shit.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just, it's a whole different dynamic. But then I was talking to my buddy Baker. I don't know. I don't think you've met Baker.
No, I've heard of his name for sure, though.
Okay. Well, I was talking to him, and I'm like, kind of the same conversation as this. And he's like, man, they're spending a lot of money and stuff. And I'm like, well, we got an email probably 2 months ago about the second quarter of the year. The company made $2.3 billion worth of sales in the second quarter. So we're talking $10 billion of sales in a year.
Yeah.
$5,000 ain't shit.
No.
So that's why they said charge it, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't, as Chris D'Elia would say, it doesn't make a fucking dent. It doesn't make a dent in the wallet at all.
And, like you said, as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking, those are the companies that actually care about something other than their bottom line. Mm-hmm. I mean, not to say that, you're in a business to make a profit. Let's just all be real about that. But they don't mind sacrificing a little bit of income if it means you build that strong, relationships and, the infrastructure that's needed to make the company make $10 billion a year. And I think that's the goal of every company should be, invest in your people. That's exactly what they did with you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
They invested in you guys. They didn't invest in some sort of, brick and mortar place or, trying to expand. They're invested in their talent and,
And it's pretty obvious there, man. Like, it's really cool to work there because I've never worked for a place like that. It's all been about profits or cutting expenses or whatever. Yeah. And I remember I think it was either the first week or the second week I was there, the on-site supervisor sat us all down and said, what do you guys want? What do you guys need for your desks or your cubicles to make life easier? And we're like, we need monitor stands. We need this. We need this. We need this. She wrote it all down. It was there. All of it was there 2 days later.
Oh, my.
Big ass boxes. Like, I'm talking like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like the size of like a shop vac.
Okay.
Like 4 of those size boxes showed up and said, here's all your shit. Got us all book bags, laptop bags, gave us all computers, laptops, and all this. And like, it's insane, man. Like, I've never worked for a company like this. And they're like, what do you need?
Right.
And I could reach out like, hey, I need like even extra stuff. Like one girl brought in her mouse from home and it's a wireless mouse. Right. Mm-hmm. That's just what she preferred. And it ended up stopped working. And like, she's like, oh, it's a bummer, blah, blah, blah. And she was just casually mentioning it to our supervisor. And she said, I see you got a red one. She's like, is there a reason you got a red one or whatever? And she's like, it's just my favorite color or whatever. Yeah. Casual conversation. 2 days later, she said, hey, here's you a brand new wireless mouse because yours stopped working. She didn't say she was going to order it. She didn't say anything. She just took that mental note, ordered it for her, and said, here you go. Right. Just because I know you like it. Right. Makes your life easier. Man, that's what you prefer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When you bend over backwards for your people is going to bend over backwards for you.
It's amazing, man.
That's exactly the type of, culture you want to build, I think, in any company. Right. It's like you're doing model things, man.
Right. It's awesome, man. Yeah. Like, I told Jess, this was early. This was probably 2-3 weeks in. I mean, I've only been there since the beginning of August, so 2.5 months maybe. And I told her like 2 or 3 weeks in, I was like, look, I'm going to sound like the person that gets too attached right away, like the clingy girlfriend or whatever. But I was like, I can retire from here. Yeah. Like, I can already tell. And it's cool because like they try to use, like you said, your talents. They try to use your talents to help and where you want to go and what role you want to be in and whatever. So like I caught on to UVX pretty quickly. And not everybody did, but that's pretty normal. It's a really archaic system. It's old. It's like literally from the 80s.
Okay.
And it's all about your keystrokes. There's no mouse at all. So you got to hit like F2, F12, F16, F8, and type in codes and like certain things. Not like programmer codes, but like type SOI, commands. SOE, QFI to get to certain places.
Right.
And if you get to a certain point where you mess up, you got to start over.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's really archaic and annoying and, whatever. I kind of like it though because I'm weird. But I caught on relatively quickly, and she knew I had a training background. So in our downtime, she has me book conference rooms and schedule it for all the people on the team. And we go in a conference room, and I more or less train people on these practice orders that we have. Okay. And we go through it as a team and stuff like that. And I'm like training the team that I started with. And it's really cool that they're like, okay, you have a background in this. You want to advance to either a management role or a trainer role or something like that. Because I've already voiced that I'd like to get back into that. And they've been like, okay, we'll do it. So they've let me do training and stuff like that. And like the team kind of comes to me if they have a question. And it's really cool.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, it's just... because we've both been in management and stuff, and I've hated it. I've hated it for the most part everywhere.
Okay.
It has its perks, but...
Yeah. See, I've only ever done it in retail settings, so I hate to say that as of yet. You've worked a lot of different... I don't know if you... I consider a gas station retail, to be honest. Yeah. That's in that category.
Yeah.
So you've done it. I've at least seen what it's about in more industries than I have. But yeah, yeah. I think corporate America is just turned me off of, and I hate to take that point of view and just be like, well, all management everywhere is just,
I kind of told Jess too, like, I want to get a job that pays well without having to go into management.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to find. I found this one.
Sure enough.
And it pays very well, but they treat you so well that I'm willing to go back into management. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, this is the culture I want to work for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool.
And maintain.
Yeah. Right. And I've just had a bad taste in my mouth with other management positions I've been in with how it's more or less the politics of it.
Right, dude.
Because I'm not, me, I'm not a politics type person. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to be respectful as much as I can about it, but I don't want to have to tippy-toe around anything.
Right.
And the on-site supervisor is very much like that, and she doesn't, but she kind of runs like the whole floor. She's like the most senior supervisor. People come to her and stuff like that. But she'll tell you how it is. Mm-hmm. And she'll tell you if you're messing up and all this stuff. And like, she's very respectful and very professional, but she'll also she's got a little tongue on her, but in a good way. And that's what I like, because that's kind of how I am, which I'm new to the company, so I'm not going to be like that right away. But she fights for her people and stands up for her people, but will also write you up if you're being a little shithead. And like, it's just great. And I'm like, okay, well, she's gotten to this position being like that.
Right, with your type of management style.
Right.
Really.
And everybody respects her and loves her and all that. I'm in.
Right.
Right. So, I don't know, man. The point of this all is like, this company's awesome, and this business trip kind of just blew my mind because I'm not used to that kind of treatment.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely crazy, but
I've learned, and it's inspiring to me too to keep going. Like, I'm in a job I absolutely hate, but I'm doing it because I'm planning on making some moves down the road, and I think for right now I need to stick to it and focus on building, some skills in some other areas to where I gravitate towards that. But just your story, that alone gives me hope that
it's out there.
Yeah, you just got to go look for it, and and I think what helped with your situation with, I remember all those years you were at, Star Tech, or if you want to
go for it.
Yeah. And,
fuck them places now.
But you spent some time there. You put in some work there.
Yeah.
And I remember when you, I don't think I knew right away that you had left. When I found out, you had already been removed for it from a couple months. And I kind of knew about it, but I didn't ask you directly. So it was just kind of like, oh, shit, how long have you been out of StarTech? Mm-hmm. And, you know, it sucked in a way because I think the job you had immediately went into after that didn't last too long.
Nope.
So I figured, like, damn, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, shit, he put in all this time and effort here, and it's kind of was for nothing. No, it wasn't, though, because maybe you wouldn't have been in the spot you're in right now hadn't been for all that effort you put in that shit workplace.
And that's
you know
what
it
is, so, man. Like, I even told StarTech this because the salary I was getting to be a trainer there, that job for AT&T, because that's who we worked for within StarTech, if I was doing that job for AT&T directly, it was about $70,000 a year.
Oh, shit.
And I was making...
Not even, what, a quarter of that, maybe? A third?
About a third. About a third of that. So, and I had an offer from... Because when I was in StarTech, I reported to the lead training manager in AT&T. Yeah. You still report to AT&T. And he's like, look, man, I can get you a job out here doing the same thing you're doing out there. You know, we'll probably give you about $70K, give or take, but come out. But that was in Seattle.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm hearing you, but I don't know, you know, all this stuff. And then, you know, found out, or at that point, I think Harper was either just born or when I got the offer, I think she was just born.
Okay.
I'm like, I can't move.
Uproot your whole life like that. Yeah.
So I stayed here, and I even told StarTech, I was like, this is a resume builder at this point, because I had to fight for that salary. They wanted to offer me $24,500 to be one of the it's an up trainer, but I was responsible for over 100 agents. I was responsible for like 7 or 8 supervisors and other trainers to know all the new stuff. And they wanted to give me $24,500. I'm like, no.
Well, yeah, when I hear salary in that low of an amount, like, no, that don't even.
So I had to fight for $28,000. They ended up giving me $28,000, but that breaks down to $13.50 an hour.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there was weeks you're putting in $60,000.
Oh yeah.
So you know, if we're not talking at least $50,000 a year, it's not worth it. I don't give a shit where you work at.
So now I make 1.5% or like 1.5 times that at an hourly rate at a much lower position in the sense of responsibility, and a much better job with career growth and all that kind of stuff. So, and the only reason I got it probably is because of my resume.
Right.
We were all just kind of talking one day. This was probably 3 or 4 weeks in to the new company, and she was just going over our interviews, just like Miles was really funny and like all this stuff, and because she was explaining how she put this team together and tried to make sure everybody would vibe well, and you know, everybody brings something to the table and blah blah blah. And she's like, you know, my most professional interview was probably Adam. And I was like, really? I was like, that's not good. No, but like, I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, whoa. Like, but it's because of my resume, and I wore a suit and all this stuff, and like
played the part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very different. I'm not different at work, but I'm at work, right? Yeah. I try to be a professional. We have a good time and stuff, but yeah, it's just all that background and all the shit I took for years led up to this. Right. So I think Gary Vee talks about it all the time. Like, you got plenty of time, right? So I knew I was putting in like hard work and shit pay for a couple years because that'll pay off in the end. And I'm about to be 28, man. I'm still young. I got plenty of time.
For sure.
I could be, you know, in management there by the time I'm 30.
For sure.
You know, or 29 or whatever. You never know. But you got plenty of time, and I think that's something that people don't realize is they just want it all now.
Yes.
And if you jump into something now without the background or without the kind of the education in some sense that you need, or the life lessons or whatever it might be, it's going to look good now, but it might not last.
Right.
Or you might not know what you're looking at, and it might appear better than what it is.
Right.
So I'm a very long-term guy. Like you said, you're looking out a couple years.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to eat shit for a couple years, but eventually it'd pay off, and it finally did. So if they're listening, I don't know if they do or not. I'm very grateful for being where I am now, and hopefully I can move up, and hopefully make a career out of it.
Yeah, man. That story, very inspiring to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people who would hear that, for all of those who, grind and what you bring to the table, to any employer, whether, you know what you're doing or not, you're willing to learn that, and you're willing to put the time and the energy into making that happen. The sky is the limit for us, and it may not seem like those opportunities aren't out there, but he's living proof. So keep pushing, keep fighting for what you want to do and what you believe in, and eventually it'll come to you.
I try to be inspiring. No, not really, not at all. I try to not be inspiring. Actually, I try to be the guy behind the scenes and not in front of people's face. But
sometimes, in order to take that next step, you got to come out into the light.
And you honestly got to be willing to try new things and start over.
Yes.
That's the thing. Because
I think I'm struggling with that right now. Because a lot of me feels like you're not willing to move up where you're at. That's dead. I know that. It's not even maybe one day out. It's an absolute no. So a lot of times in my mind, I'm like, well, why don't you just get the fuck out?
Right.
You are wasting your time. But I'm scared to take that risk, not only because it's something that I've never done before. It may be in an industry or a field, that I've never worked in, and that's intimidating in and of itself. But just the idea that I could go and not like it and want to go back to my old, like, damn it, I was getting these hours, I was making this pay, I'm maybe making a little much now, but this is way more stressful. This is way more this is way more that.
Yep.
Damn it, I feel like I made a bad choice. But even then, did you really? See, it all kind of, you have to just let it play out sometimes.
That's the thing about, like, when I left StarTech, too, because, like you said, the job I had after that didn't last that long.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've kind of touched on this in previous episodes, but, yeah, so in StarTech, worked as a supervisor and training for the majority of the 4 years, for probably 3 of the 4 years, was in those two kind of roles. Put in a lot of work and a lot of hours and stuff for shit pay, right? So this new job comes along from a person that I worked with at StarTech previously, and now they're running their own company. And they said, hey, I'd like you to come work for me.
Yeah.
Essentially, to be honest with you, the guy posted a thing on Facebook and said, like, hey, who needs a job? I don't even think he said what it paid. He's just like, who needs a job? Great pay, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I posted a GIF on the status, and it was just of something that said, like, pick me, like, just being funny and stupid.
Yeah.
And I was looking for another job, but not like, I'm like, and he said, pick me, and he messaged me and said, hey, man, you really looking? I said, not actively, but what you got?
Right.
And he hit me with this, and the money was great and all this, and it was cool, but it was weird to transition to the new job because I went from training AT&T tech support for cell phones to glass manufacturing in a factory. Mm-hmm. So very different worlds. And I was hired to be a supervisor over there too. Mm-hmm. So very different worlds. And I didn't know shit about manufacturing, never worked in a factory prior to that. And it was a reality check, and it was something to kind of that I definitely had to get used to, because at AT&T or StarTech, I was one of the go-to people. If anybody had a question or couldn't figure something out, a lot of times they came to me.
Yeah.
Even in other departments, they would come to me. And it's just because I had my hands in everything and tried so many different things. But, it was definitely a kind of reality check to go there and not know shit. I didn't know anything. So I went from the guy that knew not everything, but most things or could figure it out, to somebody that didn't know anything.
Right.
And it was very hard to get used to, but it was nice because after a couple weeks, I figured out I can do this. Right?
Yeah.
It was weird, but I can do this, and I got used to it. And then that job only lasted a couple months, and then had smaller jobs after that One of them lasted 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. One of them lasted a day because I went in and went through the motions and left and was like, I'm never going back. And, you know, like, just not the best stuff. And my family and, you know, everybody was not getting on me, but kind of, because they're like, you're quitting all these jobs. And I'm like, it's because they're not right. Like, they're just not right. We're in a situation now that we can get by to where, like, obviously you need to have a job, but, like, I can get by till I find one.
Right. You can afford to take some risks right now.
So I quit probably 3 or 4 jobs, or went to, like, interviews and potentially got hired and just, like, never showed up. And, like, and you shouldn't do that. I don't recommend that for people, but I was just like, that's not it for me. Like, I don't want to put in, like you said, I don't want to waste my time with something that I know is not going to work.
Right.
It's got to pay enough and stuff. And I kind of did like an NFL thing where I held out, right? I was just like, no, I need the right offer before I'm even going to do anything.
Right.
And eventually this one came along and, you know, everything fell into place. So I don't recommend people going without jobs, but at the same time, if you can manage it, try to find something that is worth your time, worth your effort, and something that will give back to you.
Right. And I think because you knew what you brought to the table.
Right.
So at that point, it became, well, you know, it's a lot of times, you know, it's like, I just hope a job picks me.
Right.
It goes from like being a bench warmer to, it's probably a bad analogy, but like being a bench warmer to like being LeBron. LeBron gets to pick what team I'm going to. Like, I want to go to South Beach. I want to go to LA. Right. Whereas Kyle Korver, he probably like, you know, I hope LA takes me. Right. I want to go to Miami. But when you know what you bring to the table and know how to negotiate that, things happen.
I'm not LeBron, but I'm like JJ Redick. Like, I got a couple options. You know, I can kind of pick.
I'm not about to just go to
I'm not going to the Knicks.
Right.
Yeah.
I got your offer right here, but I'm not picking it up.
Right. I see you. Yeah. You know, I'll put you on the table, but I'll let you know. And that's the cool thing, though, like, because I've worked my ass off.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to put in that groundwork to be able to have those luxuries.
Exactly.
Like, I see your offer, and it's awesome to be in a position to tell a job, like, hey, I'll let you know.
Right.
Not the other way around. Right. Like, they'll call you or whatever.
Right. And you're sitting there wishing and waiting and hoping.
Right. I'll let you know.
Right. Right.
We'll see.
Right. Yeah.
You know, what you got? Yeah, we'll see.
That's a cool place
you
to
got
be.
Bonuses? What you got? You know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
But, like we said, guys, the Community Day event was actually really cool, and it was cool to meet people and get some shout-outs and spend some time with family, and had a lot of close people there, and the few of you that came out to support us, we definitely appreciate that.
That's all we got for this week.
Yeah.
We'll be right back at you next week, same time.
Yeah.
Roughly Tuesday or Wednesday. So please be on the lookout. And we're going to try to finish the year off strong.
Yep, definitely.
A couple weeks from now, so probably the episode after next, I'll have a special guest, a friend of mine from my place of employment. His name's Taylor Sabo. And we got a fun-filled episode. It's going to be a lot of heated arguments.
Yeah, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
There'll probably be a loud podcast, so make sure you start with your volume on like 3, just to make sure you don't blow your speakers from yelling at you.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. Right. And until next time, guys, we out.
All right, guys, and here's the shout-outs that we got today from the community event. Hope you enjoy.
This is JD from 7th Advent Unicorn eating a donut. Come see us December 7th for the toy drive at Belcher's House of Rock.
This is Lainey Bauer from the Mansfield Association of Realtors. Thank you, Alpha and Omega, for giving the community something fun to do.
This is Doris. I want to say hello to my family, friends, my Red Hat ladies, and I love them all.
Hi, this is Cheryl Meyer. Remember to come out and vote on November 5th. I'm running for Mansfield City Council, 2nd Ward.
Shout out to all of our owners, vendors, tenants, everyone who comes and sees us. Alpha and Omega loves you guys.
Tell my son, Brandon Sherrock and Rebecca Sherrock, I love you.
This is Sam Ramirez with Alpha and Omega Real Estate Group, your realtor of choice. If you're looking to buy or sell, get a hold of me, 419 565-5293. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to do a shout out to my brothers and sisters serving here in the States and around the world.
I give a shout out to Lauren, my friend in Lewis Center, Ohio. I give a shout out to Maggie in Lewis Center, Ohio.
Want to give a shout out to Xander and Kayla in Sycamore, Illinois.
Giving a shout out to Average A&F Podcast for being here at the A&O community event. Thank you. It's been a great day.